What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the debut project by dropping a pop locket. Basically, this project is called Hoodrat Thangs Wit my Friends, and it came out in the late fall of 2008. Now, technically, this particular album came out technically in the winter of 2009, but it was like the last 3 or 4 or 5 days of 2008. So still, in some cases, it might as well just be easier to say the late fall of 2008. But it's the concept about it. Basically, dropping a pop locket is basically like a crunkcore artist or band in particular, kind of similar to Broken Side Pitches like that. I'd have to say some pretty good concepts here. Definitely pretty heralded project here. Now I know that this is a bomb of a project for most folks. When you think of like critic appeal and pitches like that, this is probably one that folks would probably say from like a critic standpoint would probably get like a 1 star or a 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, something like that. Not to say anything against this band, but a lot of crunkcore tends to get like a lot of flack when you think of Broken Side and Blood on the Dance Floor, the Millionaires, some of those type of folks, they get a lot of flag as far as that particular kind of goes. But this is going to get a pretty rave and classic score. Definitely appreciate this. This is a pretty hard to find project here. Dot Dot Curve is on this particular project, very similar to Dot Dot Curve. I wanted to get into more folks like this particular group. I definitely wanted to fuck with more folks like Dot Dot Curve and J Bigga and some of those type of folks. Definitely gonna get to J Bigga down the road, I'd have to say. But this is a relatively brief project. But the thing about like dropping a pop lock, they have a number of albums, apparently more than 30, I'd have to say in particular. So they really have a lot of good assorted amount of stuff to kind of get to. A lot of good assorted stuff to kind of get to here. Now I want to say in particular, I don't know if this particularly is still on CD. It's kind of a tough to find project. I'd have to say a lot of these crunkcore projects like the Millionaires, Dot Dot Curve, some of the a lot of these folks like the Millionaires, Dot Dot Curve, some of those type of folks are pretty tough to find in like CD format, but maybe it's digitally. But I wasn't able to find this particular album on Spotify either, so it's kind of the concept about it. So it's really low key. It's pretty much only on YouTube, and the two folks that had it on YouTube were pretty low key with it in particular. It doesn't have pretty much over like probably 350 plays, something like that. It's pretty much in like the 2 digit range as far as that particular kind of goes. But there's some excellent stuff here. The thing about this particular album being named is it's called Hoodrat Thangs Wit my Friends, which is basically like a hit meme out of 2008. There was like a kid that talked about having some hoodrat things with his friends when he got arrested. Pictures like that. Good concept. You can probably find that on YouTube, that particular meme. It's an interesting thing about it. But it's just kind of the concept here, being able to say this is a hit album despite the fact that, despite the differential type appeal of it, I'd have to say in particular, I do appreciate these songs quite a bit. I'd have to say every single song on here I recommend. So I'll go ahead and say I'm going to give this album like a 10 out of 10. Pretty good concept. Now, I don't know, it's because dropping a pop lock, it's pretty low key, just with an aspect of it. Really, places like Discogs, Rate Your Music, some of those type places don't really know a ton of information about it. So I don't really know as to what the singles kind of were in pitches like that. I do want to say at least Dot Dot Curve. There's a song off of Dot Dot Curve's debut album or one of his earlier albums called You're a Fiend Girl that's also on his album. But apart from that, there's like a cat called Rockstar that's on one of these songs on here. I think it's either Bottoms Up or Bumpin', one of those type ones. But yeah, there's 7 songs on this particular album, some good stuff. I don't know the single or pitches like that. But yeah, this album's going to get a 10 out of 10. We'll just go ahead and talk about these songs in here. So Weird Platinum's a real nice one. Do appreciate this one quite a bit. Weird Platinum's like a glazed kind of electro nightclub flair of a song in particular. I'd have to say it's like a hype craze night. I would definitely feel like this is just like a good screamo fun of a song. I'd have to say, and this is a pretty good low-key highlight. I'd have to say this has a pretty good glitzy type beat on here. Really appreciate this one. It's a little bit lazier, but I do like the concept of the appeal of it. Definitely like Dot Dot Curve, just not quite as manic. I feel like Dot Dot Curve is definitely a lot more screamo as far as that pitching goes, and so is Broken Side, but I do like the lazy kind of appeal of this particular group as far as that were to kind of happen. As far as that were to kind of happen, I'd say this probably could have been a single. Just says that relatively approachable type of appeal. This one's a little bit more approachable than some of these other ones on here, but I do like this one quite a bit. Definitely makes me wish that this was on CD or at least easier to find, I'd have to say. Where Platinum's just a real nice highlight one. Now, it does kind of have a learning curve. All these songs on here have more of a learning curve. If you're not fond of crunkcore pitches like that, if you hate Broken Side, if you don't like Blood on the Dance Floor, some of those type of folks, I'd have to say you may not like this particular stuff, but it is basically kind of a blend of like some stuff like the Carter 3 from, not necessarily like southern hip hop like Lil Wayne, but definitely has some of that alternative hot topic type feel like the Carter 3 and Jeffree Star stuff and Blood on the Dance Floor stuff. So those type of folks that I'd say some good concepts, but You're a Fiend Girl, the Dot Dot Curve song's a pretty nice one. This is also on that particular album. It's like a good Dot Dot Curve collabo, I'd have to say in particular. It's like a good electro dance hopper, I would definitely have to say. And this is like some crunkcore. This is like an electro dance hopper, I'd have to say. And this is like a crunkcore kind of punk glitz of a song, I'd have to say in particular. And this is just good for like a regular night. So it's pretty good turn. This is definitely some pretty good turn up, I'd have to say in particular. Some excellent type stuff. This one has a beat that's pretty similar to like Lil Wayne on like the I Am Not a Human Being album. I can't remember which particular production. Probably won't be in the connotation either, but it's just a pretty nice one to kind of get here as far as that particular kind of goes. It's a real circa 2009, 2010 Lil Wayne and folks like that. Broken Side, some of those type folks, just really works pretty damn well. Dot Dot Curve does a pretty good job. They all sound pretty similar. It's just a good screamo fest on this particular album and song. And sort of This particular European Girl's pretty nice pitch for that, but it's just some real nice glitzy kind of dance crunkcore type stuff to kind of get. Real good highlight beats, pretty good blooping, and this electronic, this works pretty well, I'd have to say. Dipping's a pretty nice one. This is like a screeching kind of crunk noise of a song I'd have to say in particular. This one's slurred and gleaming, I would definitely have to say. It's definitely some good quick times. Definitely for that concept. And this is like some day after I was getting ready to get turned up. This is definitely some day after I was getting ready to turn up type feel I'd have to say in particular. This is definitely one for cruising out in the whip. Just pitches like that, just cruising real fast. Some of those type flares as far as that particular kind of goes. Not necessarily like a pull up song, but just kind of getting the traverse of getting to some of those type points. Just the traverse of getting to some of those type points and enjoying the ride as far as that particular kind of goes. Just some excellent type stuff. It's just really screeching type one. There's not many crunk songs that I would have to say is like this. I definitely feel like this is a pretty good concept for like Lil Jon type flair as far as that particular kind of goes. Just one that kind of has some of that screeching kind of. This is definitely one that has some of that screeching type crunk appeal about it, but just the concept of just being able to say that it's just going fast in like a vehicle, something like that. It's really the, if you like Snappy Fingers by Lil Jon, but you want something in a more like mid traverse pitches like that, this Dippin' song's a pretty good one for that. Cake on That Makeup Baby's another good pairing with Dippin'. This is definitely another pretty good. Cake on That Makeup Baby's definitely a pretty good Traverse type one to kind of get. Just a good pairing that works pretty well. Just a quick and type one, I'd have to say. It's like some snazzy kind of dance turn up, I'd have to say. This reminds me of Dot Dot Curve, definitely, I'd have to say. And this is just like a Screamo craze kind of highlight. Yeah, Cake on That Makeup Baby's definitely a pretty snazzy dance type song to kind of get in particular, but it's also a pretty good vehicle type song to kind of have for some of that flashy kind of pizzazz. Just cruising in the whip, pitches like that. Just, just got done with getting some drive through, some pitches like that. It's that same particular. Just some good turn up to kind of have, just enjoying some exhilaration stuff like that. It's great for Thursday, Friday night, some of those type flares. There's some good concepts. I mean, this is a relatively brief project, so they had to amalgamate some of these type things to kind of get a lot of pizzazz that goes along with it. But I feel like a lot of these just kind of have the particular type vibe of this. Some quick times. You have your dance floor type songs, you have your cruise out type songs, and then you have like some getting tore up type songs and pitches like that. I'd say in particular, it's just a lot of definitely some house party type flair as far as that particular kind of goes. It's the concept of this is just a solid jolt of energy for like a good hour as far as that particular kind of goes. Just for like some weekend type flair as far as that would particularly kind of happen with it between like the house party songs, the cruise out type songs, and then the dance floor type songs. As far as that word particular kind of goes, it's a good jolt. Makes you wish that there were more songs, at least in certain senses. I realize that this is kind of an acquired taste for as far as that particular kind of goes, but the concept, once you get the taste for this particular album, it really hits in stride. And it's just like, it's just an abundance of just the energy on this particular album is just off the meter. It's just real social and affable crunkcore type craziness pitches like that. It's a real good concept that these are some festive type moments that just really has the energy off the scale. Some good concepts. So Bottoms Up is a pretty nice one. It's like a breezy and prompt kind of tune for getting tore up, I would have to say in particular. Real nice one for that. It's like a basic starter for like a crazy one. Definitely would have to say, and this is pretty energizing. So this one's a little bit more breezy. This is kind of almost like a midday type tune, something you'd listen to at 1:32 p.m., something like that. I mean, it could also almost be, I mean, I kind of look after it. If you know you're getting ready to have like a crazy one for like a tore up kind of night, and you just need some like some starter kits for like for that in particular, like that in particular, I'd have to say there's some great concepts kind of get. It's just a relatively lambent type one. I'd have to say a little bit softer and like the approach of how it kind of particularly kind of does it, but it's just an excellent type one to kind of get here. It's a relatively here and there type one, but I do like the concept of getting some of these. It's probably, this is kind of off-putting for like the concept. It's not off-putting in terms of quality, but just off-putting like the approach as to how it would kind of be for a song called Bottoms Up, which implies like the drink bottle would be bottoms up, pitches like that. You'd have to say, you'd wonder that it'd be a little bit more ravenous as far as that kind of goes, but it isn't. It's just kind of concept of just appreciating the concept that it's just one of those kind of day bustle type songs. If you're going to a bar or a saloon, something like that, one of those type places, a pub, something like that during the daytime, just the initial type house party type stuff of just getting the drink from like the liquor store, some of those type pitches, and just getting ready to enjoy the rest of the night as it starts to get more festering and crazy later. This is a good initial Kickstarter for that. Pretty good concept. Bumpin' is a pretty nice one. Also, the whole album's nice, but just the concept of this is a nice one. This is like a jazzy kind of electronic mess hall music of a song, I'd have to say in particular. It's like a good vanilla house party appeal that the song particularly kind of has, and this is just an easy kind of song for turn up. Yeah, Bump, it's another one that has the same approach as Bottoms Up. I'd have to say in particular, just kind of a somewhat breezy type one, a little bit more just relaxing, just kind of more relatively mellow kind of kickback, probably like a 6.5, 7 in terms of crazy type energy. There's definitely some sheer type ones on here. I feel like Dip In, Cake on That Makeup Baby, We're Platinum, Break Me Off are definitely some carnivorous type ones to kind of get, but there are some ones that do kind of have some of that breeziness. It's going to be interesting to see some of these other songs that we get to that kind of have more single format, just to see the ones that they release to radio are the ones that they want to get airplay and do music videos to. But this album's just a great burst of energy. Like I said, just a real social night. I just like some carnage. It's a real nice one, but Bumpin's pretty similar to Bottoms Up, and then Break Me Off's another highlighted one. It's like a quick pace kind of dance flame of a song, I'd have to say. It's definitely some tore up flash, I'd have to say in particular. And this is just some loud pack kind of carnage. This would have to say in particular some great stuff for that, and it's like a stock night kind of out on the town, I'd have to say. So it's a great concept. This one probably Break Me Off is one of the craziest songs on this particular album, on this brief album. I'd have to say it's probably, if not the craziest, probably it's either Dippin' or Break Me Off that would have to be just within that aspect, I'd have to suppose. But We're Platinum's pretty much like the entry type one to kind of get. I'd say Bumpin' and Bottoms Up are like some basic kind of midday type ones to kind of enter like the night type of feel, some of that type of stuff. And I'd have to say that Cake on the Makeup and Dippin' are like some of the cruise out type ones just for getting to some of those places in just the Traverse. That's the concept. So this album basically gets a 10 out of 10. I'd have to say some excellent type stuff here just to be able to suppose. The social score definitely gets a 10 out of 10 as well, just because of the sheer blistering type appeal of this, just in particular, all this craziness that kind of goes about. And especially for 2008, as far as that particular kind of happens, this was definitely ahead of the time as far as that particular kind of went. Same sort of craziness from Broken Side and Dot Dot Curve, just a little bit more of like more dance floor type of jazz, a little bit. Like, I feel like Broken Side just had more electro and more crunk type stuff, more circa Lil Jon type fare, but this is a little bit more of like electronica. Just kind of, I like this particular mixture. I like this particular variation of crunkcore because all these crunkcore artists are kind of different in some fashion. I feel like Broken Side was more like Lil Jon. Dot Dot Curve is more screamo and more like Attack, some of those type folks. But this is definitely more like electronica, just kind of more like Lil Wayne and folks like that. Some of those type rap type artists that kind of were alternative but not quite full blown like emo centric as far as that particular kind of went. But some good concepts kind of get like the conduit that kind of meets that particular grounds kind of in between, just for some of that. It's just a good appeal. I like this posse of Drop being a Pop Locket. Don't know their names quite. Don't know their names at this particular point, but I'd say some good concepts here to be able to get in particular. So that's a good concept about it. But in terms of the future, like basically, like I was saying, that Drop in a Pop Locket has over 30 albums, something like that. They've dropped a bunch, just to be able to say that as far as that particular kind of goes. There's at least probably 3 or 4 that came out in 2009, so they have plenty of these to get to. I'm definitely going to get to some more of these. We'll just have to see about some of them. I mean, it's gonna be just in motion as to how some of these kind of come out. It'll just kind of be here and there, especially if some of these have a lot of songs in there. But I'm hoping for some of these to have some singles and pitches like that, some music videos, some promotion, kind of see what they did. I know that they're pretty much always low key and stuff like that, but it's just kind of concept will be interesting to see what they've fucked with in some of these more type ones, to see how many more of these we'll get, like just the scores and just seeing what a lot of these are going to be about, because this was pretty appealing, I'd say. So I do recommend this quite a bit. I had to say it's just some excellent type concepts to get here, just a real sheer burst of alternative. This is up there with some of the best albums of 2008, like the Carter 3 and Trilla by Rick Ross, some of those type ones, and some more alternative bound ones like the stuff Jeffree Star was doing. I think, yeah, Jeffree Star dropped the album in 2008, so it's a concept of some of those type folks. Broken Side, obviously, some of those type folks. So it's some good concept. This is definitely an alternative and hot topic highlight, I have to say, and I would definitely look around for this if you can find it, because it's definitely some sheer stuff.